There is real concern from aid agencies about the impact that the conflict is having on young people. We can speak now to Soraya Ali from Save the Children. Morning to you. Thank you so much for talking to us. Can you just give us perhaps a description of the latest situation on the ground that you're hearing from your own colleagues?
So in Gaza, we know that a humanitarian catastrophe is really unfolding. We know that over 8,500 people have been killed, and 67% of that includes women and children. Right now, we've got around 12,000 people injured, and the number of children killed in just 3 weeks is well over 3,000. So that really is an astonishing number. We're talking about one child killed every 10 minutes. And I think when we hear devastation to this scale, it's hard to wrap our heads around. But what it really means is children's schools, children's playgrounds, children's homes being destroyed. And we know the only way to ensure their protection is to ask all parties on all sides to adhere to a ceasefire and to say enough is enough and stop the violence.
We heard, didn't we, yesterday from UNICEF, who used this astonishing phrase. They said that Gaza has become a graveyard for thousands of children. Can you try and explain to us why the children are so very badly affected in this situation?
As we know, Gaza's population, 2.3 million people, half of whom were children. So we knew this conflict was going to have enormous impact on children specifically. We know that all wars are essentially wars on children. Children are uniquely vulnerable. When there's bombs going off, children, their physiology, they're smaller, their skin is thinner, they have less blood, their bones are more brittle, they are uniquely vulnerable. And of course, they need and require our protection. In Gaza, this is no different to any other place on earth. We're talking about children's safe spaces. And we know right now we've got a catastrophe of a situation where there's not enough aid getting through on one side, children that are wounded are not able to get out, and violence continues to escalate in the middle.
There are growing reports this morning, aren't there, that the Rafah border into southern Gaza going into Egypt may be opened for people who are seriously injured. What have you heard?
So we remain hopeful. We know nothing has been confirmed yet, but of course we must remain hopeful. But I think what we know is that the Rafah border crossing is just one of 3 crossings. We're talking before this situation, this recent escalation in violence, 2.3 million people. Of that population, 80% were dependent on international aid. So hundreds of trucks used to go in every single day. And we know there was already a problem with children and people being able to get the medical access that they require in Gaza. So of course, we welcome the border being open, but we know that the devastation and the numbers that we're seeing on this scale really require immediate action. We need aid to get in quickly and safely, and we need all parties to cease fire so we're able to help those who are most vulnerable and need it most.
We know that medical attention is needed, but also dehydration. Basic dehydration is a big problem too, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Talking to our teams on the ground, we know that a lot of our staff have been impacted, just like ordinary civilians. 1.4 million people have been displaced, and they're now sheltering in facilities in the south. And we're talking really about facilities that are built for 1,000 or 2,000 people, housing thousands of people. And to put that in real terms, we're talking about thousands of people sharing something like 16 bathrooms. They haven't got the water running. They haven't got water, clean drinking water, but they haven't even got water to flush the bathrooms. We're talking about hospitals where surgeons are performing surgery using their mobile phone light. And we know parents and children in this situation are having to make unimaginable choices, rationing food, water, medical supplies. Fuel is also going to run out soon. So we know hospitals where we've got babies on incubators might not be able to keep the lights on. So it really is a dire situation in Gaza.
And Soraya, we're hearing that all local mobile and internet services have gone down in Gaza. Have you had any communications at all? Can you keep in touch with any colleagues of yours who are there?
So I haven't been in touch with our colleagues this morning, but we know this is a continuous issue. We've had communications blackouts, which is, of course, terrifying for the civilians in Gaza and for ourselves. Most of our colleagues have been accounted for in previous blackouts, but we know that every single person in Gaza is impacted by this. Every one of our colleagues, for example, has lost a family member, a friend. So yeah, we're going to try our best to get in touch with our colleagues, but I think this really speaks to the gravity of the situation. People running out of basic supplies like food and water, and humanitarian aid organizations not being able to get in touch with their colleagues.
Soraya